We got the Big Ten to the north, the SEC to the south, the Big 12 to the west, and here we are stuck in the middle with the Dirty Foot Club.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers can join today and get $150 back in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. The word is that politicians in the state of North Carolina are doing their best to make sure that UNC and NC State stick together through whatever potential conference realignment turmoil is coming down the pike. And we talked a lot about conference realignment as it was a hot button issue back in August, literally like right before the season started. That's all everyone wanted to talk about.
Yep.
To be completely honest with you, after that kind of died down, I turned that section of my brain off because I just want to focus on the actual sports. And so, I mean, not surprising that now in the off season again, the talks are ramping back up and you're seeing some schools move to other conferences, and the Florida State ongoing war with the ACC is very much still ongoing. We all don't know how that's going to shake out, despite all the reports that seemingly come out every single day that say, oh, Florida State's found a breakthrough. And then, no, they haven't. They have not found a breakthrough yet. So The relevance for NC State here is that we might be tied to UNC wherever that may be. Maybe it's the Big Ten. Maybe it's the SEC. We don't really know. Now, Kenton, you're much more plugged into this than I am, as obviously you are also on Locked On ACC. What are the type of things that you've been hearing on this?
I need every team in the ACC that is not named Florida State or Clemson. I need all of their administrators and their fans. Well, not the administrators, because the administrators know what's in the coffers. I need all of your fans. Put down the glass drug paraphernalia. Put it down. Okay? I got to speak. I got to say what I got to say here because not too many people are making sense. Even if Florida State is to reach a buyout with the ACC of, the numbers being floated around are as low as 90, as high as 300 or so million. Florida State leaving the ACC and saying, it's easy. We did it. So can you. It's like those articles of people saying, I paid off my student loans and bought a house all under the age of 30. And like
3 easy steps.
Everybody can do it. All you need is $600,000 of combined income plus a push gift of $100,000 for when your baby's born. And you too can pay off your student loans and buy a house. It doesn't work like that. Everybody doesn't have Florida State's money. I'm sorry to tell you that. Clemson is probably the only ones that even come close to having in the coffers what would need to be paid up right away as the buyout. UNC fans, the Dirty Foot Club fans, are as deluded of a fan base as I have heard in these talks because they don't know. They believe that they're the line of delineation when in reality, the line of delineation is firmly above you. It's not even like in reach above you. So, I really don't even know why this legislation was necessary because nobody's going anywhere in the near future in terms of any school not named Clemson or Florida State. But again, a lot of people like to believe that, well, we have a big basketball brand, so we could for sure pull these big conference numbers. Grayson, I'm going to read you the top 10 teams in terms of NCAA tournament appearances ever, okay? And here's what we're going to do at the end of it. I want you to tell me which of these schools switched conferences during all of this realignment talk, and not because their conference got evaporated or eviscerated, right?
All right, let's get it.
We'll talk about teams that voluntarily chose to leave their conference. Kentucky.
No.
North Carolina.
No.
Kansas.
No.
UCLA.
Yes.
Yes, but also their conference got eviscerated. But I will give them a yes because they started it. They left before their conference got eviscerated. So, okay. Duke.
No.
Indiana.
No.
Here's the big one that should tell you basketball doesn't mean jack diddly squat in this thing. Below Indiana is the Villanova Wildcats. No, they haven't. They're still in the same conference. They haven't even moved up to FBS yet, folks. So just keep that in mind. Louisville.
Way before all this, yes, technically.
Well, sure. But, I mean, in terms of the conference realignment now, they're not going anywhere. Syracuse.
Same deal.
Notre Dame.
Same deal, I guess.
So, I am telling all of you right now, we just gave you the top 10 basketball teams in terms of total appearances in the tournament ever. Ever. And guess what? We pointed out one team that left their conference for a new one in the midst of the current realignment talks. One.
Yeah.
So I know that, the Dirty Foot Club, hey, you've got a basketball team to be proud of, right? They're the class of the conference. They're the class of the region, and it's not fake class either. Whatever you do, don't Google UNC fake class. But the reality of the situation is the basketball portion of this is not what is moving teams. That's just the facts. And in looking at football, they may be a brand that's worth slightly more than us. They don't have it in the coffers nor the value to be worth. Because you have to consider it like this. For those of you who are watching this show, if you have children, what happened to your paycheck when you had kids? Some of that money stopped going to just what you wanted to do, just what you and your old man wanted to do. All of a sudden, you start having it's what we want to do, and the baby needs this, and the baby needs. Here's why I say that in terms of what conference realignment looks like. As a team, you are in essence coming to these conferences trying to prove your worth. You are the child walking into their home saying, hey, I can give you this, I can give you that. They're saying, hey, we're going to go to the Big Ten or the SEC and divide up their pie. But while we're dividing up their pie, we want it to be divided by our basketball revenue, which, again, the biggest brands in basketball, they compare to very mid-level teams in football in terms of how much revenue they're bringing in. Yes. That is just the reality. So while I'm honest about where NC State is in terms of our value and in terms of, hey, is there a huge market in the Big Ten and the SEC for NC State? We're not the only ones who need to have a very honest conversation about, hey, do we bring enough for a conference to split up their pie to invite us in?
Not only do I think that neither of these schools are going anywhere anytime soon, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This was never about basketball. This is all about football. You even look within the ACC now, like Cal, Stanford, and SMU. They're not coming in for baseball and volleyball and all that. This was football driven. Make no mistake about it. Not basketball driven. It's always been football. And so for UNC to puff their chest and say, oh, we're way more valuable than NC State. These guys don't win anything. We own them. Don't let them tell you that. Don't let them tell you that.
If it was field hockey driven, then yeah, they for sure. You be the guys. You be the gals. You got us. You got us.
Yeah, and then just on a purely athletic standpoint, the thought of us breaking apart from UNC, it's very bizarro world to even consider such a thing. And in the interest of traditions and rivalry and seeing them every year and the fan bases, of course, living so close together because they're within close proximity, I would really hate to see a day where we do get split up. And I think, honestly, that goes for a couple other teams in the ACC as well. I wouldn't want to see a split up from Duke or Wake or even Clemson. I like the ACC. Many people are kind of numb to it all, but I like the ACC. I think there's definitely some teams, respectfully, that maybe drag us down, and you probably can think of who those might be. So I don't know. I mean, I would certainly like to conserve the regionality of this conference. I like all these teams being relatively close. I like being down the street from the Dirty Foot Club. I like playing them in every sport every single year. We're still working on the success part, of course, but it's coming. It's coming.
I'll tell you, in terms of football, I mean, if you go like post-segregate or post-integration, we've done just fine. If you go since the invention of the cell phone, we've done just fine. If you go since the invention of the iPhone or internet that didn't dial up and go, we are winning the series outright here. So hey, listen, I'm sad to see you go because that's a dub that I like taking. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things. You know, everybody else on Thanksgiving, they're thinking about the beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkey. You know, that's what they're thinking about. I'm thinking about the ram that's about to be on the table. I'm thinking about little Ramesses and getting my, you know, I love a lamb chop. I love me a good lamb chop, and a ram chop is just as good. And the boy, has it tasted sweet these last 3 years. Delectable.
Whether we are or are not tied to UNC when I guess everything starts to go down, I think we're in a good spot regardless for NC State.
I'd love for us to be tied together for forever, and I'd love for William to continue coaching that team until he no longer wants to do it. You know, hey, William, you've got 2 fans over here. We're big fans of your work, man.
Big fans of Mr. William.
You're one of the only 3 coaches in the NCAA that has a national championship. I think by that metric alone, they need to hold on to you over there for a very long time. That's what I think.
But yeah, this is exactly why I tweeted the clip of the Joker the other day when this broke, and him saying, I think we are destined to do this forever. I want that with UNC. I want to be in North Carolina duking it out, pun intended, with these Tobacco Road schools year in and year out. This is where we belong. And so I would like to see us stay within the confines of the ACC. Maybe some other circumstances change down the road, but for the time being, no one's going anywhere anytime soon. So
yeah,
it's certainly interesting to chew on. For the time being, NC State is in a good spot.
Yeah, most of these teams aren't going anywhere. Most of these teams, they're going to be right where they are. I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. The ACC will resemble more of what the Big 12 is without Texas and Oklahoma than what the Pac-12 was or was going to turn into without Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. That's just the reality.
Yeah. Up next, we have a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, but it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, and LED headlights, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. That's because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Middle portion of our Thursday episode, now diving into a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something. 3 topics, and we're going to tell you exactly where we stand on them. First one here, obviously a lot of discourse around Kevin Keatts and his job security here at NC State. This one's inspired by one of our listeners on Wednesday, but the question is, if Keatts is gone, you're likely looking at losing out on the talents of Paul McNeil and Trey Parker. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of nothing, because if you get to the point where you're so fed up with a coach, you will pay him to no longer be at your university. 2 players were not going to make the difference unless, like, you're guaranteed, like, hey, this young man, I mean, I would say LeBron James Jr., but I wouldn't even keep him for Bronny James. I'm just with all due respect. Now, much love to the James family, but you get my point. If you're not, you know, unless you're looking at the second coming of like, hey, this kid is with him on your team, you're guaranteed at least 17 to 20 wins just because he's there. You could trot him out there with me and Grayson on the court, and he'll get you 17 wins. By the way, I was a football player, not an athlete, so I don't want nobody guessing like, oh, Kim was probably great about it. No, that was not me. And so with that in mind, neither one of those guys are that. I think they're very good. I think both are very good. I think that they both answer some things that NC State desperately needs help with this year. But I don't think that any player that is not of that world-beating caliber is worthy of like, hey, we'll hold the team hostage to this coach who has historically underperformed for two players that I think are good. I think will make us better. I don't think make us instantly, hey, this team is amazing. They're going to, do all these things and be lottery picks or even higher.
Yeah, we stand in the same spot on this one. It's a whole lot of nothing. And I mean, it's also way too early to know exactly how all of this will play out. We don't know for sure if Keats will or will not be here next year. In the event that he isn't, we don't know who the replacement coach would be and what the chances are that he could retain both of those guys. There's so many unknowns that you don't have a complete answer to this one. But what you said you can't hold the team or the program hostage. That is exactly right. And despite the uncertainty at the head coaching position, these two guys are not going to come in and take us to the national championship next year. We would love for that to be the case, but these two guys in particular are not that. Let's keep it 100 here. It ain't going to happen. So, yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing. Still a lot of unknowns to really give a pure read on this subject, but I mean, right now it is what it is. Next one here. Running back Jordan Waters and linebacker Devon Betty were two names amongst a couple others that appeared to run on the second team in the first day of spring practice. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
A whole lot of nothing. So I'm going to start with Betty. With all due respect, I didn't see anything that's like, his position is safe. If there's anybody on this team that's spot is safe, his position is safe. There's a few guys that I look at and I say, yeah, his spot should be untouchable for what he did last year, what he's done so far. If you're not an Aiden White, if you're not a Davin Van, if you're not a Brandon Cleveland, if you're not a really, and here's the thing, with Sean Brown, I want to put him in that category, but even with him, he's switching positions, and he is running with the ones, but nobody else, I don't think, has earned that right on the defense to say, my position is safe with the one, and I guess you could throw in Red Hibbler in the pass rush situations. Like, that's one of them. I don't care what you got going on, what blitzes you running, who's coming, who's dropping. He needs to be on that field. He applies pressure on tackles that makes folks real uncomfortable. So I don't think anybody else has earned that right, and so I'm not upset at that. The Jordan Waters thing is a little bit more interesting, but you also, when you understand the landscape of today's game and the transfer portal, right? If you put Kendrick Raphael with the twos and he's like, oh, no, I carried this team last year. And I'm not saying he has this attitude or temperament. I'm not saying that that's him. I'm saying what is more likely and what makes more sense as a possibility if you put him with the twos and for him to be disgruntled. Give him that one slot and make Jordan take it from him if he is to take it. And the third thing that I'll say, and I'll pass to you after this, Grayson, it's the first day of spring ball. There is so much time, so many practices, so many weightlifting sessions, film sessions, all the things before they put on that red and white and go out there and hit somebody that's wearing another color. Before they go out there and hit somebody with a helmet that doesn't have Old Tuffy on the side of it. So, whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, that third point is honestly all I got for this one. It's the first day of spring practice. Perhaps my answer would be a little bit different if it was the first day of fall camp, but we're not even close to that. We're still in late February. We got a long way to go until August rolls around. So where guys are practicing in the spring, whether it be the ones or the twos, it doesn't make a difference to me right now. And of course, this will be monitored as we continue to progress. But on day one, Jordan Waters running with the twos, it rolls right off of my back. It has no relevance to me it's just crazy to me that Jordan Waters is wearing red. It's just crazy to me that Noah Rogers is in a Wolfpack red jersey. I'm over the moon that these guys are really here at NC State. Like, we're really doing this right now. They have Tuffy on their helmet and they're practicing for this school. That's where I'm at. So we got the rest of the spring and all summer to worry about that type of thing. So whole lot of nothing for me right now. Last one here, and this will eventually lead us into our last couple minutes of the show. Women's basketball last week, they lost back-to-back games at Chapel Hill and at Duke. They welcomed the 19th ranked Syracuse Orange to Reynolds Coliseum tonight, Thursday night. Are we concerned with the level of play recently? Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of nothing. This is not about NC State's poor play. The two teams that they played extremely well. I talked about the fact that Deja Kelly never saw a contested mid-range jumper that she did not like. And in that game, if you watch, she was the distributor. She was, if you've ever seen Ted Lasso, when Jamie Tart said, stop playing to me and play through me. And Deja Kelly became that player for this game. Instead of her taking those terrible contested shots, she said, I'm going to draw the defense in, and was making phenomenal reads. And the players for UNC, they were hitting great shots. You got to give the Dirty Foot Club their credit when the Dirty Foot Club deserves their credit. So with that game was what it was. And then you kind of walk in to the game against Duke. You're already limping in off a loss to your rivals. And objectively speaking, we've all seen one loss turn into two before, but also this women's ACC, people can say what they want about bracketology, Joe Lenardi, all those guys, and what it means in terms of which conferences are strong, weak, etc. There's not a metric on earth that does not say that the ACC on the women's side is not the best conference by a good amount. So coming off back-to-back losses, yes, you would not want that, but you're playing two rivals that are very close to you. Both of those rivals played phenomenal games. I mean, you know, I'm sure it's a whole lot of something to Wes Moore. I'm sure he is fuming and going to get things right. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd say a whole lot of nothing.
Stop playing to me and start playing through me. No, but I mean,
exactly.
For me, actually, this is a whole lot of something. To lose back-to-back games for this team the way they've been playing, it's going to be tough regardless. But when those two losses come against those two schools, it stings a little bit more. And
That's
so
fair.
Wes Moore and the girls are certainly trying to avoid a third consecutive loss, being that they were in contention for a 1 seed. I think maybe that ship has probably sailed now, but they are in contention for a potential 2 seed, and that thing matters. So this is a game they got to have. They got to protect home court. Syracuse is going to come in hungry. They've had a very good season. They have the same overall record as we do. I'm not so concerned with the status of the team. Of course, maybe back-to-back losses in those fashions were a little bit concerning, but I have no doubt that they have the ability to turn it around on a dime. And so outside of just not really playing well, I don't think there's any major concerns about this team right now. Everyone is virtually healthy. It's the same squad you've had all year that has already pulled off incredible things. And so we've seen their capabilities. They just have to refocus and take that out on Syracuse tonight in Reynolds. Coming up next, we're going to give a little bit of a preview of tonight's game against Syracuse after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second sponsor of the day is FanDuel. The wait is so close to being over for our state of North Carolina. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is on the way. On March 11th, we'll finally be able to bet on all of our favorite teams in all of our favorite sports. And with FanDuel, there's tons of ways for us to get in on the action. You can bet on everything from the money line to over-unders to which team will make a little noise in this year's March Madness. This all comes on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, with live betting, you can even pick which player will put up the next bucket, maybe even the one after that as well. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon so you can be the first to know when FanDuel goes live in North Carolina. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Last couple of minutes of our Thursday show here. As we've already mentioned, number 19 Syracuse comes into Reynolds Coliseum tonight, 7 p.m. to play our women's basketball team. Now, like I mentioned, Syracuse has the same overall record as we do, 23-5, and they've been playing really good basketball of late. They've won the last 4 out of 5. They're looking to collect their third consecutive win on the road tonight. We are looking to avoid our third straight loss. And Syracuse, I believe, is sitting above us in the ACC standings at 2. We are now tied for third, if I'm not mistaken. I knew she was like this, but I didn't know she was really like this. Their guard, Daisha Fair, is the 5th leading scorer all time in women's college basketball. That is not an error. 5th all time.
Yeah.
Of course, all the attention is going to Caitlin Clark, who plays for Iowa. She hit number 1, I believe it was, last week or the week before. Very quietly, Syracuse has a guard, like I said, Daisha Fair, 5th all time. So understand this. You know what type of time she's going to be on when they roll into Reynolds tonight. She's going to be looking to lead her team to a very solid road victory, and NC State's going to have to deal with her all night.
Yeah, Fair can shoot off the dribble. She can catch and shoot. She is immaculate from deep. You do not get to that level of scoring unless you're a very big body that is just physically imposing. You can drive to the rim like nobody's business, but in women's basketball, there isn't as much dunking, so that kind of takes away from the drivers a little bit. And the only other option is for you to be immaculate and catch and shoot and off the dribble, which Miss Fair is. She is, a little bit sawed off at 5'5". She's listed at 5'5". I'm not sure if she's 5'5" in real life, but I'll tell you what, she can absolutely fill it up and she can distribute the ball. She can also be a player that when teams channel or when teams lock in on her too much, that has been the difference for this Syracuse team this year. It just hasn't been De'Asia all year. It has been other players coming along with her. So the job and the goal here is to obviously slow down De'Asia and turn her into a volume shooter in order to get her points, in order to score, but also don't let the other gals become stars in this one either.
And a similar theme to what the men's team has been playing like recently, I'm really looking forward to our women's team getting off to a good start. And I think in these last two losses against Chapel Hill and Duke, it's just kind of erratic. And honestly, it might not be anything more than just simply not playing well in consecutive games. Like we said, I don't think it's indicative of a deeper problem in this team, obviously, because they played so well for basically the entirety of this season. But it's just a little bit of a cold stretch. And I guess not just a cold stretch in the schedule, but a cold stretch in shooting. We've seen that as a little bit of an issue at certain points during this season. So the consistency's got to be there. It's got to be a team effort, of course. All the regular buzzwords. You got to rebound. You got to take care of the basketball. And I really believe the rest can take care of itself. But obviously, you cannot lose track of Fair. We already lost track of one Syracuse shooter last week in PNC. Cannot afford to let another one loose in Reynolds on Thursday night.
After our 5 losses that we've suffered this year, the women's basketball team, this team is 4-1 with an average margin of victory that's well into the double digits. This team will course correct. They will figure it out. They will get it going here because this, it's crazy. It's really crazy to think about. We're talking about a 2-game losing streak as if like the sky is falling.
Yeah. This
team's going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. They're going to do what they need to do. And here's the other beauty of it. For all of the struggles that you talk about, us having recently and losing the games that we have back to back, guess how many home losses we have on this season?
One.
That was to Virginia Tech. That's it. Nobody else has beat us at home besides the defending ACC champs. So while Syracuse is a great story, De'Asia Fair, amazing scorer, upstart team, I have complete and utter faith in this team to get it done.
That'll do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so very much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you think about this women's matchup tonight in Reynolds. Tell us what you think about potential realignment rumors between UNC and NC State being tied together in all this madness. To hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We told you we were blown past 1,400. We are on the road to 1,500 now and beyond. So make sure you tell a friend to tell their friends and maybe their friends as well to hit that subscribe button. We will see you all tomorrow. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.